Morning everyone, Kate here at Second Verse Paper Studio. Welcome back. Today I thought you might like to join me as I start work on a new Infinity style junk journal using this beautiful vintage Reader's Digest cover I found. I was lucky enough to find a whole batch of these at one of my local thrift stores, and I'm so excited to turn them into books. For those of you who don't know, this is an example of an Infinity junk journal. Instead of a traditional single spine bookbinding, we create a sort of accordion spine that zigzags between the two covers, and that lets us bind our signatures in both directions. This is great because it helps mitigate that gator mouth effect of an overstuffed journal, and it means you don't have to cover up some really beautiful vintage covers in order to reconstruct a spine. Plus, you get a really cool reveal whenever somebody's flipping through your journal. Go through like normal, and when we get to the end, last page, we close it and this becomes our new cover, and we just keep going. Now back towards the front. It's a lot of fun. I love watching people's faces when they flip through one of these for the first time. So in order to do this with this new journal, we are going to work today to create this part. This is an Infinity spine that I've had built in my stash for a few weeks now, and what we need to do is cut off our front and back covers and create this accordion spine today. Now, I don't usually cut off my fingers doing this, but this is the first time I've done it on camera, so we'll see. So what we need to do here is we need to get at the spot right in here where the end papers crease, right at the edge of the book board. We want to cut as close to that as possible. We don't want it to be too raggedy. So I can grab my little utility knife here. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to slice right down. Gotta be brave for this. What we're left with is just a cover. A pretty good cut on there. I'm pretty happy with it. We're going to do the same thing for the back. Just open it wide. If you want, you can pull this part off. It's easy to do for you. That way, less chance of cutting your fingers. So let's go ahead and do the end paper first on this one. So there's my book block. And I'm going to cut this little piece of the spine off. Again, right up close to the book board, as close to this board as you can get. Keep it nice and snug. I found if I angle my knife like this, it keeps it nice and tight to the board as I'm cutting. A little bit of trimming to do on that, but that's okay. The raggedy canvas pieces here you can trim off, or you can leave as you wish. I'm going to trim a little bit here. I'm not too worried about a ragged edge because the theme I have in mind will fit with that really, really well. Alright, we have our two pieces of book cover. Now for this one, it doesn't really matter which one is front and which one is back. But if yours has something fancy on the cover, like this one did, make sure you keep track. That way you know which way is up, because depending on depending on where you put any pockets and things, you want to make sure you're facing the right direction. Alright, this bit we're going to save and turn into a bookmark at some point. I'm going to set that aside. I am going to go ahead and grab these end papers right away. I'm going to use them for reinforcing on these book boards once I put my accordion spine together. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off as well. If you're really gentle, you can unglue and it should just tear off. We'll have to zip that off, but I'll do that in a minute. Same thing on the other side. The details in these Reader's Digest books are just fantastic. So we're not going to pass on those. I'm going to go ahead and trim that little raggedy edge off a little bit. Keep kind of close to where that crease is. That was the width of our cover, so we're going to keep just inside of there as we're slicing this off. Backwards. So there's one, and two. So we're going to hang on to these end papers, and we're going to hang on to the covers. Now we got to talk about the spine pieces. In order for this to work, we need something kind of sturdy in here, because this is going to take all the weight of the journal now instead of just the covers. So in this one I used some heavy cardstock. It's textured cardstock in here, and I created some pockets using scrapbook paper. And for this one I actually used some manila folder that I had tea stained, and that's nice and sturdy. For this journal, for what I have in mind, I've been collecting some vintage photos, things like these, with just the really lived in faces, the really expressive, I don't know. I want to do like a well-worn theme, lots of vintage fabrics and raggedy edges, just things that are precious and well loved and very lived in. Think like your grandparents' keepsake book, something like that. So for that I picked up a pack of cardstock, and I kind of love these colors. So let's imagine for a second, put our cover there, some of our pictures, some of our fabrics. I think that this will be a lot of fun. So we're going to dig into this pack of paper. Obviously, I have to pick colors because I can't have all of these colors on every signature. Just won't quite work. So I'm thinking, here's our color palette, and here's the cover. I'm thinking I might want to go with a more neutral color for my spine, and then go ahead and use some of these brighter colors in the signatures themselves, and for accents and pockets and things like that. So I think I'm going to go with this brown. It's kind of boring today. Also, but it's way more orange than the package said. So that's a little disappointing, but we can make it work. So, what we need to do here, the simplest way to do it is just go ahead and fold your papers in half. Because then it's usually pretty close. What we're going to do is we're going to line it up so it's just inside your cover. That way nothing is sticking out. And we're going to go ahead and mark it and cut. You can use your end paper line here. That line right there. You can line up with that. That's a nice straight one. Maybe a real good idea. So we're going to go ahead and mark these. Find my pencil. Just in from the edge of the journal cover. And down here we're going to go right here to the line of the end paper. We're going to mark that. And here's my handy dandy ruler. To mark down here too. The other direction. Sorry, I'm not used to talking through this. I just kind of wing it usually. So let's go ahead and zip those off. Make sure you're good and lined up, nice and straight. You can do this with scissors too. But the slide cutter is a really, really good investment. Nice and straight. Line up right there. And the nice thing is it doesn't have to be exact because we were just eyeballing it in the first place. Now let's check our size here. This should fit right inside our cover. There's the first segment of our spine, and this page is going to get glued to this one. Because that's how you attach the whole accordion together. But now we're going to make a few more to go here, and then the next line and next line all the way through. So we're going to do the same thing again. It seems a little silly having all these little offcuts, but these are great for embellishments and tying the whole thing together. So don't toss them, hang on to them, because they're already color coordinated. Same deal again. Only now we have a shortcut. Now I'm going to put this right on top. Hug it right up at the end. And I'm not going to cut it with this on here because if I get off, then this piece is off too. But I am going to mark using this one. I think I'm going to do some counting here. Let's see, we have this one done. Now I need 1, 2, 3 more. So that one's done. 1, same thing again. 2, 3 more. Alright, let's go ahead and mark them, and then we will cut them all. You can do jobs like that in batches. It makes things go so much faster. Except I lost my pencil again. I need to tie it to my hand. There's another one marked. Those are good. And this one. Make Make sure it's nice and straight. All right, and then we get to cut. I have found that when I'm using a slide cutter, if I always pull towards me, I'm also pulling towards my straight edge here, and my paper does not slide. Had some bad experiences when I've cut this way, and it pushes my paper out, and I wind up with a crooked cut. So if you have one of these, make sure you're nice and tight up against that straight edge there, and just cut towards you every time. Probably makes my blade run out or wear out faster, but better that than wasting my paper, especially my nice stuff. There's that one, and last one. I say that and I immediately go in the other direction. Here we go. Let's set our cutter aside for now. So now we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. So these go together. One goes kind of into the other like this. And these pages are going to get glued together. So I'm going to go ahead and clip them together. Do the same thing there. And one more time. We have our accordion. So what is going to happen is we're going to flip this over because we need to glue our spines on to the front and back, but it needs to go onto a solid piece. And when I'm opening one of my junk journals, I want my first signature to be right here opening. I don't want to be opening it like this and having this big chunky thing on it right away. So I have to flip this over. That way, when I glue this onto my cover, it opens right here and my signature pages are going to go right in there. Hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue my 2 covers on, and then at that point I think we'll talk about adding pockets to this part. I don't always do it. It's sturdier if you don't, and I just plain haven't decided yet what I want to do. So let's go ahead and glue this on. For the cover, you want it glued on nice and solid. I use Fabri-Tac for almost everything because I get really bad migraines and it doesn't smell terrible. Some other glues will trigger my migraines. And it's not wet, so things don't get wrinkly. And a little of this goes a long way. We're going to go all the way around, almost to the edges. I don't want it to ooze out around the edges, but we're going to go pretty close. And then some squiggles through the middle, and we'll be good. Alright. So, make sure, once again, that your opening side is going to match the opening side of that first piece. I'm just going to lay it on there, and then I'm going to flip it over to adjust. And I'm trying to line it up with that end paper again right there. You see that? I'm going to slide that right up, kind of center it. It's okay if it doesn't perfectly line up, but go ahead and center that on your cover. And make sure the back side isn't overhanging. We don't want the spine out past the edge of the cover. So that one's glued. Adjust my paper clip here, it slid on me. You gotta make sure you're kind of centered. You need to slide that just a little more. Like I said, I'm usually just winging this, so it seems strange for me to talk about everything I'm doing. Alright, so there's your first one glued on. For the back, you can decide whether, so you're going to open your journal like this and you flip through, flip through, flip through, and then when you're on the back, you can decide whether you want, like this journal has the red spine piece still on it. I can line it up with the red to match, or I can go this way so it becomes a new front cover. And that is just purely a matter of preference. I usually go this way, but I think this time we'll try it this way. So we'll have a new front cover. And again, we're making sure our opening side lines up with our opening side of the signature. So we're going to go ahead and glue that on. The bottle's getting a little low. Opening side with the opening side of the signature. Now, I'm going to want to center it again as best you can. And if you can make sure that these accordion pieces are all tucked in nice and tight, then you can cheat and just make sure your top and bottom line up with each other, if that makes sense. As long as your spine is nice and straight, and you can just line up your two covers. I'm going to let that dry for just a minute while I decide what I want to do for pockets in there. Alright, I'm back. This has had about 15 minutes to dry. That's another reason I love this stuff. It dries really fast. I have decided I am not going to put pockets in this. I'd rather keep it simple and have the extra sturdy spine. But I will show you how I would do it if I wanted to. So we need to start gluing the rest of these little flaps in. So we're going to go ahead and unclip the next 1, 2, 3. All right. So the way this is going to go, if I wanted to turn this into a great big pocket, I'd probably go ahead and cut a notch up here so that it's clear that it is a pocket, and then you just glue the 3 sides, and then you get a nice long book-sized pocket in there. I think, did I do one in here? Oh, here's another way I did a pocket. When I glued my pieces like this together, I kept one at half width, so this became a pocket like that. So you can go half width here, and I might actually do that. I'm going to do that. Sorry, I changed my mind on camera. Confuse everybody. My little cutter. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do both sides half length, so I'll have a pocket on both sides of that fold. Not quite half, maybe cut off like a third, and we're just going to go for it. We are brave. I am going to go ahead and clip the corners. Just gives it a nice finished look. Let's do 7s. Whoa. Helps if I line up all the way. There. So now, when this is on there, I will have a pocket right here, because I'm only going to glue 3 sides. Does that make sense? Spur of the moment change. I am going to go ahead and ink the edge of this just to make it pop a little bit. Fun fact, save your wrists a bit if you do this on a background, and you get a slightly nicer, smoother effect on it. And then when you're done, you've got some grungy inked paper scraps to use in collaging. Alright, there, it's just going to show a little better that way. Doesn't make a huge difference, but looks a little more finished. Same thing on the other side. That got a little dark. Blend it out with my finger just a little. Well, it's still wet. Softens it just a bit. Alright, I can call that good enough. So, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just do this page first. I'm going to glue this on, but just these 3 sides. So I want this edge to be tucked nice and tight into that crease there, and I want my edges to line up. So I'm going to make sure that's nice and tight, and then I'm going to fold that over. And because I want to keep moving, I'm going to go ahead and clip top and bottom to hold it in place while I keep working. There, that one's done. That folds over. This is ready for our next piece to go in. So these go forward and back like an accordion. Alright. Got our first fold on there. This is going to go in right here. Same kind of deal, we're going to glue just the 3 sides so that we have a nice pocket in there. One, 2, oh, that wasn't a very good line, was it? 3. Alright, so once again we want this edge to be nice and tight to that crease where this other page meets. So we're going to slide it right in there nice and snug. Make sure we're lined up at the top and the bottom so we're not going crooked. And we're going to clip it right away so it doesn't move on us. Alright, once more with feeling. So this is going to go in here like this. I am not going to put a pocket on it. I think 2 will be plenty. So this one we're going to do like a regular attachment. We are going to glue the whole thing here onto the whole thing here. If you wanted a pocket from the top, like a top loading pocket, you can just glue along the 3 sides, and then when it sticks on, you'll be able to put things in the top. I'm going to go just solid on this one. I can always add pockets to the surface later. So all the way around. Couple of zigzags. Alright, so now this edge needs to go nice and tight into here because we're up. Try not to get glue on things, but make sure you guys can see what's happening here. So this needs to go in and attach like this. So I'm going to do that. Nice and tight to the crease. Nice and tight to the crease over here. This is the trickiest one to attach because the book covers want to get in the way because we didn't go quite to the edges with our paper. But you just gotta show it who's boss, right? And we're gonna clip it right away. Now we have an infinity book spine. Easy as that. So now when we're flipping through, we'll be able to read our pages and close and keep going. So there. And I got some lovely little pockets in there. Now, just as a finishing touch, I don't usually like to leave this with the same material as the spine, and I have these lovely book plate pages. So I think we're going to go ahead and glue this in. I did the same thing with the butterfly one. It was a lot of this pattern otherwise, so I glued one of the pages of the book down. And in this one, I did some old advertisements. I think I want to go with the Ex Libris though. So I do want to ink it just a little bit. And I brought some gray and some, this is hickory smoke and this is weathered wood. And this is such a weird kind of brownish gray that I'm going to use the little strip that we cut off over here because it is the same color, and I'm going to test these to see which color I actually want. Fun fact, if you don't feel like spending on these nice daubers, the little felt rounds fit perfectly on recycled bottle caps, and I have sets of these for all of my colors. I just use the nice daubers on the colors I use the most. Vintage Photo, Antique Lace, my neutrals, and then my funky colors, I use the bottle caps. Alright, so this is the hickory smoke on there. I don't know if you can see that. Don't think it's quite what I'm after. Went a little icy looking. I may not do either of these, I don't know. It's the value of offcuts though. This one looks a little blue. So there's the two side by side. I don't know. I honestly don't know that I want either of those. got some weathering on the edges of this on this side. So we're going to try again with that offcut. Just a hint of the vintage photo. That's what we need right there. And I just want a hint, so I'm not going to lay it down and do it. I just want that edge to pop up. Otherwise, our weathered edge is towards the inside, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Just a hint. I don't know, it makes it look a little less homemade, you know what I mean? Just like it's been there forever. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and glue that down. Then I'll be able to collage on it, do whatever. I could do fun things like throw some lace on there, all sorts of stuff. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and glue this down. This isn't incredibly structural, so I didn't do a whole lot to it. This is a great way to cover up too if you happened to cut crooked or something like that. Putting this extra piece in there that's nice and square and already matches the cover works really nicely. Plus it's a nod to what the book was. And make sure you're going to fold nicely. Make terrible noises there for a second. But we're good. And I'm going to do the same thing back here. Just making sure that this is now the top. I need to make sure I keep that towards the top. So I'm going to ink this just a bit. Lighter towards the inside, heavier towards the out. So I'm going to just do that just to give it a little teeny bit of interest. Just trim that one a little bit more. Alright, 1 second. Yeah, that one's cut crooked. I think I got in too big of a hurry. See, I'm almost lined up here, and down here I overhang a lot. So we're just going to square it back up. Look at that wedge. It happens. Alright. Touch brown. Now, that is much better. So we're going to go ahead and glue that down. Does anybody else get the air bubbles that push the glue up out the nozzle? When I'm taking my time, I make sure to let the air bubbles come to the top before I release the pressure on the model. Then I don't have glue coming out. So like right now, if I let go, there goes my air bubble. Alright, I've got a lovely Reader's Digest monogram for this side. I'm going to go ahead and slide that in there. Nice and snug. Make sure we can close nicely. No bending. Alright. I think that is where I'm going to stop for this video. We just built an infinity journal. We'll do signatures and things next time. And yeah. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I will do my best to answer. My brain just works this way. The accordion thing makes sense in my head. but I know it is not the same for everyone. So if you have questions, please do ask, and I would love to explain things more. Just let me know. Thanks.